State Question 801 would allow for local schools to use their building fund, which is already at 5 mills, the money already received by the school for building and operations, those things around the building where they can do it for purchasing land, erecting buildings, utilities, maintenance salaries, equipment, any number of things associated with the physical plant of the school. So it would not, the biggest concern we have is it's not new money. We don't have a opposition stance. I mean, we're never against flexibility for schools, but we don't want it to be seen as a solution for schools. We've had 0 schools in the state that have expressed an interest in this or said that they couldn't already spend all of their building fund and more on items that are approvable under current law. This would not allow for any bond dollars to be used for teacher salaries or other operations. So that's kind of the misnomer in this. People say, well, you can use ad valorem money. Well, they're only freeing up a very small amount of ad valorem money that's already used for maintenance and operations of the building. It would not allow for increase in bond dollars or any other ad valorem dollars to help with teacher salaries, etc. So it's really important that when people go to the polls, they know that it allows schools to use dollars for different reasons, but we're still underfunded in both of those funds. We're about $2,300 per student behind the states in our region in funding for the current revenue and the capital improvement revenue. And we're also one of only 4 states in the nation that doesn't receive any dollars for capital improvement money. So we're talking about that fund that we're already woefully underfunded in, the capital improvement side, taking some of that money over to the current side where we don't receive any state dollars. We want to make sure people understand that schools have to have that money for maintenance. If you start moving it and have deferred maintenance, then at some point the costs are even going to go up higher. I think most would not change what they're doing. I just hope that opening that up wouldn't make people think, well, we've taken care of school funding issues, let's move to something else, because it's not generating any new dollars. Schools can already spend that money, and most of them are needing more money for those areas because ad valorem values are not going up as much as building costs. So many of our schools are having to collect that money for multiple years just to put a new roof on a building. So we would ask them to look very diligently at that money before they start moving it to other operations. Well, I was really excited that right after the teacher pay went through, leadership in the House and Senate both reached out and said, this is only one step. You know, some wanted them to come out publicly and, give some long-term plan. They said, we can't do that, but we want a long-term plan to fund education. We know we didn't get here overnight, so can we have an investment, an annual investment, maybe $75 to $100 million a year until we can reach the regional average in revenue so that we can now get class sizes back down to the state law requirement. We can purchase resources similar to what we have to have, whether those be textbooks or online textbooks or whatever it is, so our schools have all the resources needed to educate our students. The speaker and the pro tem were both at our conference 2 weeks ago and discussed that as well with our 2,000 people in attendance, that they want to continue to invest in public education because of its importance in our state, and that what happened last year was a great first step, but that's not the end of it. We have to look at everything. We have to put everything on the table as far as what can we do to help schools with their funding. We're in Oklahoma, we've capped local funding so much that we rely on the legislature too much. We put caps on how much ad valorem values can go up every year, whether it be 3% or 5%, and there are other caps on that. Well, what happens when you artificially deflate local revenue, then to try to keep up, then we're more dependent on the legislature to keep up for revenue for schools. So they need to really look at that. Is there a way to look at allowing local revenue at a higher level as deemed by the local citizens voting for other sources of revenue so that it doesn't put as much pressure on our state legislature?